Thank you. Thank you so much, and welcome to Bake with Sharon. I am so excited. I've missed you guys, and I'm so happy to be back, and we are making black magic cake. This is my go-to chocolate cake recipe. It is always super moist, super delicious. Hi, Katie. And we're gonna get started. It's so funny, I forgot to mention the muting, which is the one big thing I usually stick on, so thanks, Jillian. We've preheated our ovens, we are prepared and ready, and usually when baking a cake especially, this is an important time to make sure your tools and you're kind of prepared and ready with what you need. And so we're going to start off making sure that our pans are prepped. And I'm going to show you a couple of tricks that you may or may not know that are really important for baking. Anytime you bake, you always want to remember parchment paper is your friend. And when you bake with a pan, especially for a cake, one of the most frustrating things to happen when you are baking a cake is that your cake sticks to the pan and it doesn't come out. So this is an important trick to remember to use. I'm only going to do one this time, but if you're using 2 round cake pans like this, you will need to take a piece of parchment paper that is big enough for you to draw 2 circles. You're going to use the pan as your tracer, and with a pencil, and I'm going to have the camera down now so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking a pencil. I've got my pan, which actually has the cake in it because I already baked one already. I'm going to use my pencil around the bottom of the pan. And I should have, when I was having you get all your tools, I should have reminded you to also get a scissors. Take your pan off. Here, I'll move it over here. And you're going to cut around where your penciled pan marking was. You can even just let your scissors glide to make a nice round circle. And the trick is you turn, if there's any pencil mark left on your parchment, you just turn that side upside down on your pan. So I've got my circle. Now, I'm not going to do this part because I actually only have 2 round pans and I didn't think this through. You're putting your circle in your pan. Take either butter or your cooking spray and spray the pan on the sides and also on the paper so it sticks to the bottom. So you really want to lather up your pan so that your cake doesn't stick. Now here's the fun trick. I'm going to have you pull it down again. When you're making a chocolate cake, you'd want to use cocoa powder. If you're making a vanilla cake, you can just use flour. Sprinkle a little bit in on your paper with the parchment and the spray or butter, and you can just tap the bottom or shake it so that you get that dusting of flour or cocoa powder so that it gives it an extra option to come off your pan. And the reason why you use cocoa powder rather than flour is that if you use flour, it's going to have white specks sometimes, but if you use the cocoa powder, it keeps the nice chocolate in your chocolate cake. So I'm seeing some faces. Do we have questions? If anyone has a question, feel free to unmute and let me know. Are we good? All right, so basically you've got your circles in your pans. I see Corey has his coffee prepped, awesome.
Good, thanks.
Oh, do you have a Faith, do you have a question?
Does the cocoa powder go under the paper, under the parchment paper?
Good question. Thank you for asking that. Over the paper. So
Over
it's
the
just
paper. Okay.
it's another you put the butter or the spray on the paper and then sprinkle a little tiny bit and just a little dusting.
Okay.
When you tap and shake, it's even out.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so then once you prepare your pans, you can move those to the side. So I'm just going to give you guys a second. I just don't want you to be.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is everybody cooking in the Zoom, or is some people not cooking?
Some people are not cooking. So you're
Okay.
not alone and you're not cooking. Don't worry. So after your pans are prepped, you're going to put them to the side. And just to let you know, I mentioned in my recipe directions, this cake can also be made into cupcakes. So for my second batch, I'm going to pour mine into cupcakes. And when I did that, I just have my paper liners and I have them inside prepared in my cupcakes, my cupcake tins. So, okay, so now we are going to move on, and usually one of the scientific things you want to think about when you're baking a cake is you have wet ingredients and dry ingredients. And to make sure that the cake is really moist and comes together in a way that doesn't get too tough or dense, you want to keep those ingredients separate and alternate. In this particular cake, what makes it really easy is you kind of dump, after you do the dry, then you dump the wet right in the dry. So it's a really easy recipe. So if you have your stand mixer, bring it on out. And if you don't have a stand mixer, you can just use a bowl and a spatula. And we're going to make sure right now that mine is still plugged in because I just pulled it over. This is our last session, Danielle, for our summer session.
Okay.
And we are going to start up again in the fall. And
Okay.
you will be able to see all of our events online. And we also have been sending out on Mondays a week at a glance so that you can see what's coming for the week. And so you'll know when Bake with Sharon comes back, but it will come. Hi, Jennifer. So good to see you. All right. So we've got our mixer. We have the paddle attachment. Let me make sure you guys... There usually are 3 attachments that come with your blender, your mixer. This is the paddle one. This is usually used for doughs and breads and cakes. And then you also usually have a whisk, which I'm not sure if I haven't decided if I want to use that for the frosting. And then usually it comes with a hook, and that's also for doughs. So right now we're putting our attachment. We're going to start off with our flour, which is 1 cup and 3/4 of all-purpose flour. Now, as I always tell you guys, sometimes I get lazy. Hold on. Oh my God, this is heavy. The best way to do your flour is to scoop it in with a spoon, but I get lazy and sometimes I just scoop right in. If you scoop right in, just give it a little tap, tap, tap. I like to shake it off. You can also use your finger if it's clean. Mine are clean, I just washed. Straight across to get a nice even layer. So 1 cup and 3/4. So I'm gonna use my quarter, that was 1 cup. You know, I always like to say, so I don't forget. And this is my 1/4 cup. I'm gonna do this 3 times. So I did the 1 cup. And so now I've got 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. And then I'm gonna put my flour back. And we're gonna move on to our sugar. We're going to use 2 cups of sugar. Now, in this recipe, there are 2 different kinds of sugar. We're using our regular sugar, and then there's also going to be powdered sugar in the frosting. Powdered sugar is really just regular sugar that's ground up extra fine. Yes, we actually baked chocolate chip cookies a couple of weeks ago, Danielle, and that recipe, I think, can still be found on the website. And if not, I'll be happy to send it to you. Actually, now that you're registered, and you know what? I was going to wait until the end to surprise everybody, but while we're doing our 2 cups of sugar, 1, 2, I'm going to tell you that I'm making a cookbook so that we will all have all the recipes when this is over. And then every session that we do, we'll add on a new edition of that cookbook. so that we can have all of our recipes. So don't worry if you miss anything. Okay, so that was 2 cups of sugar, 1 3/4 cups of flour, and now we're doing 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder. Oftentimes, this is Trader Joe's brand, but you want to make sure it says unsweetened. There's usually, it's pretty easy to find. Hershey's also has it. So we're doing, again, 3/4, so just 3 of these 1/4 cups. 1, 2, 3.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the next time we do it in the fall, do we have like so the next time we do it in the fall and I'm doing it, do I have to bake the same thing or can I bake my own cake and do it with you guys?
Well, that's a great question. We generally do the same thing so that we're all doing it together and we have the same recipe. But I guess if you just wanted to bake along and do your own thing, I don't see why that's a problem.
Yeah, because I like to bake already, so.
Great, awesome. Okay, well,
No,
maybe
wait.
you give some suggestions. Bill, would you pull that up please a little? Okay, we're gonna just keep moving along, Danielle. I just because I want to make sure we have enough time for frosting. So we're using both leaveners here, which is baking soda and baking powder. For this recipe, we want to make sure we're using two teaspoons of baking soda and 1 of the baking powder. So 2 teaspoons, and remember the trick, just pull it along the side there to make it flat. 1, 2 of our baking soda and 1 of our baking powder. Let me get that. And now we need the salt, which is 1 teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to take a moment. You know what I forgot, Bill? Will you get me 2 eggs? We're going to mix.
Sharon, give everybody a couple minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be fast. Sorry, everybody. Let me tell you, while you're moving along and take your time, I'm sorry, I was on a roll there. I'm just going to mix my dry ingredients together on the lowest setting so that we don't have powder flying everywhere. Okay. So I'm gonna look to you guys. You feeling good? Okay, I'm sorry guys, I didn't mean to be rushing along there. So great, thank you, Matthew. It's always helpful to know when you guys are ready. It's a huge help. Are you guys good? Sam, you good? Do you have a question? Oh, awesome. All right. So we're moving on for the eggs. And we're going to start adding our wet ingredients. And what's really cool is it's going right in our dry. Is there a question? Oh, the question, Ulrich, was, is everybody ready? So I think we're good. So I've got my eggs. Now, if you are concerned about getting egg shells, you can always break your eggs into a bowl or a measuring cup first and then pour it in. I've been doing this a long time, so I'm pretty comfortable doing it right in the batter. So I'm just going to get my 2 eggs in here. So you want to just put these in the 1, 2. I'm going to do a super quick hand wash. And I'll be 1 back. Make sure you wash your hands after you do your eggs. Will you wash that for me? I'll make that again. And I happen to have my towel ready. You're making your frosting, it turned out thick. Okay, so we're gonna get to the frosting in a second. So next, we need our cup of strong black coffee. Not sure if I know Nick. But we are pouring our black coffee into our mixture, and we're just gonna keep moving with our wet ingredients. Now here's something. I like to put, this is a secret ingredient, I like to put balsamic vinegar in my cake. It gives it just a little depth of flavor, but I usually do not measure. I just use a splash. So let me show you what a splash looks like. So I have my balsamic vinegar and I'm just doing a little, boop. That's it, just a splash. It just gives it a little depth of flavor, like I said, and that coffee is going to add, people are going to taste this cake and they're going to say, what is that flavor? I can't quite tell. I don't think everyone always knows that it's coffee, but we have our 2 eggs, our 1 cup of coffee, our splash of balsamic vinegar, oh, and the buttermilk. Bella's gonna get me the buttermilk right now, and we need 1 cup. If you do not have buttermilk, do not worry. You can substitute sour cream. You can substitute yogurt. Anything that has that tangy dairy component is good, and you can just sub it cup for cup. When you use buttermilk, always shake your container because it can settle at the bottom, and you want to make sure that you get it nice and shaken up. And your 1 cup of buttermilk. Oh, and let me tell you a trick. Before you do the buttermilk, if you've already done it, don't worry. If you do the oil first, it makes it's kind of like, I don't know if you remembered, I told you this before, that if you spray your measuring cup, it makes the like honey come out easier. Same with oil. So if you ever have a recipe where you have oil, if you do the oil first, the other things that you measure afterwards will slip out a little more easily. So I'm gonna do, it's a 1/2 cup of vegetable oil first. And remember, we want to get it right to that line. Look at it right at eye level. I gotta look at myself. Oh, and see, I did too much. That's why you gotta look. I have a little now coffee flavor in there. So I'm putting my oil, and then I'm gonna do my 1 cup of buttermilk. And now my buttermilk, because I've shaken it up, it will slide out really easily from my measuring cup. Kind of separates there. Okay, so will you put the buttermilk away? Okay, and the last ingredient, my favorite, vanilla extract. Anyone remember what I told you? I make my vanilla extract homemade. Does anyone remember what I use? I know you guys are all muted, so I'm gonna tell you. Vodka and vanilla beans. But you gotta let it sit for a little bit. I know it, Matthew, that's funny, isn't it? So we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I always give a little bit more because I kind of feel like you can't have too much. And now we mix. When we mix, we want to only mix until it comes together. And this specific cake mixture is going to be runny. So don't be concerned if it looks very liquidy. And I'm just gonna do it just until it's mixed up. I'm gonna give it just a couple seconds. The batter is gonna be thin. You can do it for, it says in the recipe, about 2 minutes. That will give it enough time to come together. So 2 minutes, medium speed, it's going to be running. And that's okay. All right, I don't know if I have enough patience to go 2 minutes, but I'm gonna let it, I think it's mixed. I think we're good. The key here, I'm gonna pull this up. Bella, maybe pull it a little closer. Bella's gonna bring the camera over so you guys can really see. I'm gonna let you see what, look how runny that is. Here, a little down. See that? Super runny. So, you can put it back now. You want to take your paddle out. Bella's gonna run, and this is where your spatula is your friend. For you guys, this is where you're taking your 2 readied pans and you are going to pour as even as you can. Do not worry if it's not perfect, but you're going to pour half in one pan and half in another. Just kind of look at the sides. I'm making cupcakes. And I don't know if you guys remember, I have told you this trick before, that a good measure for cupcakes is an ice cream scoop. It's a little harder with this one because it's so runny. But the thing about cupcakes, when you make them with a cake, is you only want to fill them up about 3/4 of the way full. Never fill up to the top. They will bubble over and you'll have cupcake all over the top of your pan instead of in the muffin tin, which is what you want. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. But you guys are going to be moving quicker than me. And I'm not going to do all this now because I don't want to waste your time. But I want you to see. Can you hold this up so they can see that? No. Hold up. Yeah. So do you see how it's not in the muffin tin all the way up? So if you do cupcakes, make sure you leave your room. If you're doing your pans, you want it, this is a baked cake. So you see it's not even at the top. So for when you're putting them in, just do it as even as possible and use your spatula to scrape out the sides. If anyone has any questions, let me, I see Faith is doing a great job. I see Matthew too. Corey, it's hard to see what you're doing, but I think Jillian's doing an awesome job. It looks like everyone's are coming together quite well. So I'm gonna give you guys that time to get that, and then you're gonna put it in the oven. Now it calls for 35 to 40 minutes. So I usually just put it in at 37 minutes, which is in between. And then you can start checking when the timer goes off. The trick to a cake that is finished is when you carefully touch the top, it bounces back. If it stays stuck in and you see your fingerprint, it is not ready. So I'm gonna give you guys a minute to get those in the oven. Bella will keep working on getting the cupcakes in there, and we are going to prep. The next part is I'm gonna show you how to frost this cake.
Cher,
Yeah.
if we're doing cupcakes, is it less time to cook than the cake?
Oh my God, thank you, Jillian. 18 to 22 minutes. So I would put them in for about 20 minutes and start checking. I just remembered that I'm gonna need my mixer bowl for the frosting to show you guys. So, you know what, just scoop it out into a bowl and then we'll reuse it. I should have thought about having Bella do this while you guys were doing that, but it's good timing to let you guys get yourselves together. So if you feel comfortable and ready, I see Faith and her mom are washing their bowl, and then we can just together make the frosting. So I'll give you guys a second if you feel comfortable to wash that bowl, and we can just make our frosting together, which would be awesome. Bella's doing the same thing over here for me. If you're all ready, I don't think any of you are quite ready yet, so I'm not going to jump on. I'm just going to give you that time. So we are washing our bowl so we can make our frosting. We are getting our cake or cupcakes in the oven. If it's a cake, 35 to 40 minutes. If it's cupcakes, 18 to 22 minutes. Start checking at about 20. Or you could start checking at 18 if your oven runs hotter. Okay, it looks like everyone is really chugging along so beautifully. For the frosting, I'm just gonna start talking while you guys are finishing up so you hear what's coming. As I mentioned, you can make the frosting exactly the way I suggested. It's just that the frosting is so thick. Sometimes I like to double it. So if you have enough ingredients to double the recipe, instead of 1 stick of margarine, you can use 2. And instead of a 1/4 cup or 2 ounces of chocolate chips to melt for the chocolate, you can use 4 ounces of chocolate, which is a half a cup. And I wanted to tell you a trick while you guys are gathering yourselves. You know how I like to put my ingredients oftentimes in jars that I save? This is a spaghetti sauce jar. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but on many of these jars, it actually still has the measurements in the jar. If you look very close up, you can see that. So you can tell how many ounces you have. But just to remember, 1 cup is 8 ounces. So for this recipe for the chocolate, we needed 2 ounces. So that's just dividing your 8 ounces by 4. 2 ounces is a quarter. Half an ounce or half a cup is 8. So it's just 2, 4, 6, 8. That was a little bit of a math lesson that maybe was not necessary. Okay. All right, Danielle, thanks for joining us, and we'll be ready next time. Can you put this in the microwave?
All right. Nice seeing you guys.
So nice to see you. Thanks for joining us, Danielle.
All
All
right.
right, so I just had my helper give me my clean bowl. If you guys are there, that's awesome. If you're not, no worries. The next thing we want to do for the frosting, it looks like Corey's still getting his cake in. That looks perfect, Corey. So we are basically getting our bowl clean, and I'm going to put it in my mixing bowl.
What?
No, that's icing. Yeah.
That goes to the one more be like this.
You want to do a little? No, yeah, I guess I need another one. Yeah.
Thank you. Guys, can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So Sharon must be lost in space somewhere. I don't know what happened. I can't hear her, but hopefully.
Is everyone
Here
still
she's
here?
back on. Here she's back on. Yay!
Yes. Oh, thank goodness. All right. Well, Kiki, thank you for saying the batter smells good. I'm so excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this give everybody the time they needed to get their cake in.
Cher, you keep freezing again. I don't know what's going on. Do you want to log off and try to log back on?
Yeah.
I think everybody's frozen now. Corey, I can see you. Sam, you can see me. Okay. I think we're all here, but Sharon. So let's give her a minute. Maybe she'll pop back in. I wish I could teach you guys, but I am not the cook you want to be teaching you. But I guess let's give her another minute to get back on. At least we got to make the cake together. Maybe she'll pop out and come back on, guys. So okay, she popped out. She's gonna come back on. Sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience. Sometimes the technology's nutty, right? But at least we're pretty good. So if we have to make our own icing, we probably can, right? Ooh, I see Corey, you putting in the oven. Nice. That looks delicious. So you guys could probably put it in the oven. Let's give Sharon another minute or two to try to log on. And if we can't, we'll all have to send her a picture of our cake with the icing later tonight. I don't know about you guys, but mine smells delicious. So hopefully yours does too. All right, maybe she can't get back on. Let's give her one more minute and we'll see.
Finish up everything. Yeah, oh yeah. That's enough. No, yeah, we'll spray it. We'll spray it. All right, guys, she coming back? No? Yep. It happens, guys.
All right, so I guess Sharon's not coming on. So did everybody get a chance to put their cake or cupcakes in the oven? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. You can email your picture when it's done to Sharon or to me or to info@mainstreetconnect.org. Oh, here she is. Hold on, she's here. Okay. Hi, are you here? There's Sharon. All right.
Stressful.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, yay.
Yay. I'm so sorry, everybody. All right. So we've got our butter. We've got our melted chocolate. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to do that, but our 2 or 4 ounces of chocolate melted. And we are going to take our paddle attachment and we are going to beat the butter.
You want the paddle, Sharon, or the
Same paddle, yeah.
same paddle? Okay.
Mhm. Okay, so now we want to pour in our melted chocolate. And if you guys need to use your spatula to get that last bit out, definitely do so. And then we are going to turn the mixer off. Give it just a second. Oftentimes with this situation, you really want to scrape the edges down to make sure things are incorporating. So your butter and chocolate, you want to scrape those sides down and give it another mix so it really comes together before we add the powdered sugar, which is going to be messy. I'm just giving you guys the heads up. So we're going to mix again. Medium to high speed. Get this going. I'm going to bring you over. See it coming together there? So just butter and chocolate right now. And then this is where we're going to add the powdered sugar and the 3 tablespoons of milk. Oh my God, the cake is cooking already and it smells great. Awesome, Corey, thank you. All right, so we are going to do 3 cups of powdered sugar. Powdered sugar is super messy, so don't be concerned if when you put it in, it's gonna have a little dust, and then also you want to turn it on super slow so that it doesn't fly everywhere. So 3 cups, which of course my cup doesn't fit in here, so I'm gonna use 6 half cups. So 1, because my whole cup didn't fit, I'm doing, instead of 3 cups, 6 half cups. 4, 5. Okay. Here's the moment of truth. You really want to be careful because this will fly everywhere. So sometimes I kind of my mixer so that the powder doesn't fly everywhere. And what makes this come together is your 3 tablespoons of milk. Belle, did you bring me some milk? You can bring me the almond milk. Because I can't have dairy, I'm adding almond milk because I used margarine. I can have this frosting, which is awesome. It's going to look very sandy a little bit, or just very thick. When you add the milk, that's what makes it come together. So we're doing 3 tablespoons. 1, 3. Now I doubled mine, so that's going to be a little more, but I'm going to hold off on adding all. Sometimes you just want to see how it comes together before you add everything more. I just realized I need more powdered sugar because I forgot I doubled my recipe. So I'm going to just slowly add my more while it's mixing. The thing about frosting is sometimes you can mix it. If it's too thick or too thin, you can always add a little more sugar and a little more or a little more milk. But this is starting to cool. I have a lot of powdered sugar everywhere, but this is coming together. And now I'm going to add my other milk. And now I'm going to put it on high. Frosting is the opposite of cake batter. You want to whip it for a while so it really gets some air and in there and gets light and fluffy. The frosting is going to look like super dark, and I'm going to show you. There we go. I don't know why I can never get this quite right, but you can see the corner of it. That's a little better. And so it should start to come together and be light and fluffy. If you need to scrape down the sides, go ahead and do that. But I just want you guys to see what the frosting looks like. Do you see this? It's kind of light and fluffy, and it has kind of a light chocolate. All right, now I have to put that all together. Sure your paddle is on. That's not good. Okay. So here's our moment. We're going to scrape those sides, remember, and do one last nice mix. There is frosting everywhere. All right, well, today's bake is a little bit longer because I should have given myself more time. Cakes are a lot. So we're getting a nice mix. You really want to get that air in there so it makes it light and fluffy.
Adobe.
How's it doing? Is it coming together, Faith? You're looking good? Oh, it looks good. I love the color. Yeah, it looks nice. All right, how you doing, Sam? I feel like oh, Matthew, perfect. That looks perfect. Good job. I think we lost Corey. All right. So here's what we're gonna do, guys. I'm gonna let you, if you're ready to take a pause, I'm going to show you the tricks about frosting because I just want to make sure we have our completed product so you can really see and understand how this works. So as always, I need to clear my space because a good baker has a clean workspace. And I'm going to get my cake plate out because there are some tricks with frosting. Here's a fun tip. think about how you want your cake frosted and how you plan to present your cake. So if you are going to keep this in your house, if you have a cake plate, will you hand me the lid? That has a lid, you can just leave it in your house in your cake plate. If you're going to bring it to somebody else, maybe you have one of those Tupperware containers, and that's fine too. This cake is meant to be frosted in a way that is more homemade looking. That's the nature of this cake. But I just wanted to tell you, if you ever frost a cake that you want to be a little more careful and perfect, you take your parchment paper, not the one that's cut, you take regular, and you put 2 pieces on the bottom of your cake plate before you start. And then you put your cake down. After you frost, you carefully pull those papers away, and that way you don't have frosting all over the edge of your cake plate. So that's just a fun tip. But for us today, because it's going to be not as perfect, it's okay if we don't do that. And if you do, either way, if you do that or not, another good tip, take a little dollop of your frosting and put it in the middle of your cake plate. And it's kind of like glue that holds it in place. So you see my cake plate? I have just a little dollop there. It's gonna hold my, gonna be the glue that holds my cake in place. So now I'm going to take my cake. So here's my dollop. You put that in the middle. You very, very carefully, here's another trick actually. Take your cake plate here. This is a little bit of trick. And then when you turn it upside down, it's kind of a careful motion there. And you pick up your cake. You have it in the middle, and then you just very carefully pull back your parchment, and you've got your cake perfectly in the middle of your cake plate. I probably should have taken my own advice and put parchment down anyway. It's always a good idea, but I didn't, so we're gonna go with it. So now we're going to take some frosting. Here is a trick I have learned over the years. Don't go crazy with the middle of the cake frosting, because then you won't have enough for the top. So just kind of, this is kind of like another conservation math lesson. Look at your frosting and see about how much, because you only want to use about 1/4 of the frosting inside because you want the top and the sides to be frosted. Or you could do a naked cake and leave the sides unfrosted, which is always fun to say, right? A naked cake. But you leave the sides unfrosted, and then you see those layers, and I think it looks kind of awesome. So you don't have so much frosting too, because in my house, not everyone loves the frosting. So here we go. We've got our cake firmly in place because we glued it down with the frosting. I'm just not wasting any frosting here. So I'm taking the frosting from my paddle and my
I licked all my frosting from my paddle. Is that bad?
No, that's how it's.
Yeah.
And actually, Bella's going to be my licker, and she's going to make sure that this frosting is good because
Delicious.
I haven't even tasted it yet. And I'm going to scoop a little more. So here's the thing about frosting, and this is a lesson that is a hard lesson to learn. When you are frosting, you have to be confident. You don't want to go back and forth a million times, because then you pick up all the crumbs of the cake. So I have a nice dollop of frosting here. It's like a cute, I probably used too much, but here's my mound. Now, because I bake a lot, I've treated myself over the years to some tools. So this is an actual cake spreader. If you do not have something like this, don't worry, you can use a spatula. But I want you to see what I'm doing. I take my spreader. Okay, Bella's gonna hold on, you got the thing. And I'm just kind of spinning the cake plate and keeping the spreader in place. You've got to be patient here. But as I do it, it evenly spreads out. And I'm just spinning the bottom. You could do this with a regular plate too and just spin the plate. And I've got a little extra here, so I'm gonna just get this last bit. And then I'm just going to, again, just slide it around. And then Belle, do you want to put it up top so they can see? Put the,
You can see it.
oh, you can see it. Oh,
This whole time
perfect.
I did it.
So you can kind of see that even spreading. So basically I'm holding my knife in place and I'm moving the plate. So you can decide, is this a good amount of frosting for you? But now we can't flip it anymore. So I'm going to carefully hold my hands on the second cake and just lay it as close as I think it's centered and be patient for that to pop out. Again, do not forget to remove your paper or that would taste yucky. But you can see now what that naked cake would look like if we did not put the frosting on the sides. So I'm gonna just, I know we're running a little over now, but I just want you guys to see the options for frosting because it can be frustrating sometimes when you're frosting and it gets goopy. See, I'm gonna show you the same trick I did, but I'm going to take one little part and I just wanna show you a couple of tricks. Well, here, got my big mound. If you want to do the sides, you would take your mound. All right, I'm gonna push this over, let it fall a little bit, catch it with my knife, and then just start my motion again. So I'm just carefully moving around. This is why you put that parchment down, because you can see how it gets on my spreader. So I don't want to reuse that because that's just going to put crumbs back on my cake. So I'm taking my mound again, carefully pushing it over. And again, I'm just catching it and just moving along.
Sharon, I have a question.
Yes.
How long do you wait for the cake to cool before you take it out of the
Very good question. So this is cooled for about an hour. And I really would give it that time. If you're in a rush, you can put it in the fridge. But, and actually professional cake bakers or, bakeries always freeze their cakes because they're much easier to frost. So it's harder to frost a warm cake. But as you can see here, that's a good example of the side. So that's why I always like to double my frosting because it takes a lot of frosting to do the side. And then we just continue with what I showed you. And then we just do it on the top and around the sides. So I like to always keep making sure my knife is clean. You could even dip it in warm water, which is another trick. But I just try not to lift and try to keep my motion of the cake moving instead of the motion of the knife or the spreader. And then just continue to redip. So you can see it's getting smoother. The last thing I wanted to show you, I feel like I don't want you to see that ugly side now, but I just wanted to show you one last thing. If you wanted this cake to be a little more, fun and fluffy looking, there's lots of ways, and you could probably look on YouTube, and we could probably do an entire session on cake decorating, although I'm not the best cake decorator. But if you take a little mound of frosting and you kind of just gently flip up, and you just keep, it's all about consistency in your motion. So you just keep flipping up, and then you kind of get that ripple effect, and you would just do that across the whole cake, so you have like a fluffy looking top, if you prefer that. You can use sprinkles, you can use chocolate chips, you can use coconut, you could use nuts, you could use anything to decorate it. You could put fruit on it, you could put strawberries on the side. But there's lots of things you can do with it, or sometimes I just like a super simple, clean cake, and you could even sprinkle, if you don't like frosting, you could even just sprinkle some confectioner's sugar on top of the cake and do that too. But I just wanted you to kind of see some options here, just so you know what to do. But when in doubt, clean knife or clean spreader, and just try really hard to not keep going back and forth over the frosting and the cake, because you'll just pick up all the cake, and then that gets into the frosting and it's hard to get out. But if you do that, then just add sprinkles or add chocolate chips or add something. You can always, that's why I love baking. It's always a fixable thing, and it's always delicious. So no one cares if it's not perfect. But I hope you enjoyed our Bake with Sharon. And sadly, as we discussed, this is our last one for the summer. And then we're going to start back in the fall. And so I think we do we have an evaluation today, Julian?
We don't have to, because we've done them every week, but if you guys want to do it, I'm happy to do it. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like doing a poll. We're gonna do it. Okay.
All right. While you're doing it, I took the liberty of writing down what our next activities are, our next events. So tonight at 6:15, the sports club. Tomorrow, so by the way, I'm on vacation this week actually, but I love you so much that I wanted to keep Bake with Sharon. So I feel very out of the loop when I looked at the calendar this week and saw something new that I didn't even know about, which is tomorrow, there's a mindful morning with Stacy. So if you want to try that, it's at 10 o'clock, from 10 o'clock to 10:30. And then 3 o'clock to 3:45 is Feast for Belonging. This Sunday, we have bingo from 3 to 4. And then this is awesome, you guys. If you haven't met Mama Peace yet and tried one of her sessions, I definitely plan on attending this one. It's called Moving from Attitude to Action in Peace with Mama Peace. And she's so fantastic. And I just think it would be an awesome thing to try. It's Monday, 5 to 6. Tuesday is my very last e-project. If you haven't tried that yet and you want to see what it's about, you can get on the last one. It's from 5 to 6. Also that night is our talent show. Jonathan, I know you're going to be in the talent show. I'm not sure who else, but it's from 8 to 9 on Tuesday. Wednesday, our very own Katie is leading our arts and crafts at 11. That is a huge success, and we're really excited about that. Thursday is Culture Series at 11, and also something new, which looks awesome, is Zumba with Melissa at 4. And then that following Sunday, we're having trivia. Actually, there is something new that's not up yet that I know I don't know if anyone has met Ben yet, but I know he's doing an event on Friday, which I'm going to help out with, which I'm super excited about. So that is what's coming up, you guys. And this has probably been more fun for me than it has for you, but I have loved doing this with you. I love baking.
What if one of us is moving out on the same day?
Well, if you can come, and if you can't, you can't.
Yep.
No, you just see what you can come to.
Yeah.
And Sharon, how about you guys, a big hand to Sharon? This is awesome. And don't forget to send her or info@mainstreetconnect.org. Send us your picture of your cake or your cupcakes.
Yes.
She loves seeing them.
I do so much, and I've been trying to post.
And we had a little contest with the peach cobbler, and both Faith and Eileen sent their pictures, and both of you will get Soulful Cafe gift cards once I get them. You both sent pictures, and you both get a prize for it. So way to go, Faith. So
awesome.
Those will probably come in the next couple weeks.
Thank you.
Not quite ready yet. You're welcome. And yay to Sharon. This was so fun. I learned so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And so guys, I'm gonna work on this cookbook, but I really want to make it good. So it might not be out right away, but I want you to know that at some point you're gonna get it, and we can add on to it. And so if you missed anything, you'll have it.
That'd be awesome. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.